while focus is on Ukraine's front line. On the other side of the world, in the Caribbean Sea, American President Donald Trump started his first major war. The White House has officially announced the implementation of a total and complete naval blockade of Venezuela. This is not just sanctions, it's a military operation to physically block all oil flows of Nicolas Maduro's regime. The United States Navy has received orders to seize any tankers attempting to export Venezuelan oil in violation of American restrictions. In other words, it's not just about sanctioned tankers anymore, but about all tankers that the Maduro regime will try to use to export oil from Venezuela. The White House has ordered a focus on the so-called quarantine of Venezuelan oil, at least for the next 2 months. Moreover, Trump stated that he is not going to return the tankers and oil to their owners. And what's most interesting is that the entire White House claims that the Nicolás Maduro regime has stolen something from the Americans, and until he returns it, the United States will continue to seize oil tankers. But the question arises, what exactly did Venezuela steal from the United States of America? And here there are some very interesting episodes that I suggest we discuss in this episode. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, and leave any comment under this video. This really helps a lot in promoting the episodes on YouTube, and I would be grateful to you for that. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as it comes in. Let me start a bit earlier. Back on December 10, the United States Coast Guard seized an oil tanker headed for China off the coast of Venezuela. This happened as Washington was tightening its naval blockade of Venezuela, aimed at overthrowing the country's government. Since then, the United States has seized 2 more oil tankers, but while previously these were tankers under sanctions, today the situation has changed. Venezuela, at least for the next 2 months, will have them. Trump's representatives stated that now they will seize all tankers leaving Venezuelan ports. Moreover, the White House stated that Washington is currently more interested in using economic rather than military means to pressure Caracas. And although United States President Donald Trump does not publicly reveal his exact intentions regarding Venezuela, he is privately pressuring Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to leave the country. On Monday, Trump stated that it would be wise for Maduro to step down in order to stop United States pressure on Venezuela. As stated by the White House, they expect that by the end of January, Venezuela will face an economic catastrophe if it does not agree to significant concessions to Washington. Real pressure has also begun on Venezuela's allies. The first is the Moscow-Caracas connection. For many years, Venezuela was a key ally of the Kremlin in the Western Hemisphere, a financial hub through which Russia bypassed oil sanctions and transferred currency. Trump is now hitting Putin's rear positions, and the strangling of Venezuela is a direct blow to Russian influence in the region. Without Venezuelan oil, Cuba's economy collapses instantly, as it is completely dependent on supplies from Caracas. Total blackouts have already started in Cuba, threatening the fall of the regime. Basically, it's a complete chain reaction. Many people probably don't even remember the second one anymore. But Trump still imposed 25% tariffs on any goods from those countries that continue to sell. By the way, this is a direct challenge to China. Beijing was the largest creditor of the Maduro regime and took oil as payment for debts. Now Trump is telling Xi Jinping that either you stop supporting Maduro or you pay America a 25% tax on every ton of your exports. The naval blockade of Venezuela also sends a clear message to the Kremlin about Ukraine. Trump is essentially showing that he is ready to take radical steps that, for example, Joe Biden did not dare to take. If Putin does not accept the conditions regarding the demilitarized zone, which we discussed with you in the previous episode, then the next target of the blockade could be the Shadow Fleet. Already Russia in the Baltic and Black Seas, why not? Third, if earlier Trump talked about the war against the Maduro regime being connected to drugs and migrants, then since mid-December, the United States president began stating about the return of assets that, in his opinion, Venezuela illegally stole from American companies. But what did Venezuela steal from the United States of America? We're mainly talking about oil assets in the Orinoco Belt region, which is a large basin of the river with the same name in eastern Venezuela, where some of the world's largest reserves of heavy oil are concentrated. And during the presidency of Hugo Chavez, who led Venezuela from 1999 to 2013, the government of this country carried out a large-scale nationalization of the oil industry. The government. In 2007, the state-owned company Petróleos de Venezuela, Sociedad Anónima, forcibly seized assets from the American giants ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips, who refused the new partnership terms with the Venezuelan government, which required transferring the majority of shares to the Venezuelan side. The companies invested billions in developing Venezuela's oil fields. But Hugo Chavez argued that nationalization was necessary to return the oil to the people. Now the assets are under the full control of Petróleos de Venezuela, Sociedad Anónima, but their condition is far from ideal due to chronic underfunding, corruption, and the impact of American sanctions, which were introduced during Obama's time and strengthened by Donald Trump. In general, it turned out that the Americans once invested billions of dollars in exploration and the start of production at these fields, invested in infrastructure and so on. Then Lugo and Chavez came, took all of it, nationalized it, and that's what's left there from the Americans. This is essentially how the Nicolas Maduro regime is earning new money. They never discovered any new deposits. And oil production in Venezuela has since dropped from over 3 million barrels per day in the early 2000s to less than 1.1 million today. And the deposits require urgent investment to increase production again. And according to the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, Venezuela still hasn't paid full compensation to American companies. And now Trump has stated that he demands Venezuela return assets to American companies. And the latest lawsuit filed in a United States court amounted to more than $20 billion in debts just to American companies. As of today, the White House states the main goal of the pressure is combating narco-terrorism and recovering assets. Earlier, United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth called the Venezuelan dictator an illegitimate leader, and the United States still openly seeks to overthrow Maduro's regime. An additional reason for such discussions was Trump's contacts with Maria Corina Machado. She is the leader of the Venezuelan opposition who received the Nobel Peace Prize this year. And after the announcement of the award, Machado dedicated it to the suffering people of Venezuela and to President Trump for his decisive support of the cause of free and fair elections in Venezuela. That was her quote. And now, in Washington, there are hints that in addition to blocking tankers, they are ready to launch cyber attacks on the oil infrastructure of the very same company, Petróleos de Venezuela, Sociedad Anónima, to speed up the fall of the Maduro regime. In general, the coming weeks will show whether a combination of military, economic, and diplomatic measures and influence will yield any results. However, the history of the Latin American region shows that quick solutions in such conflicts are usually rare, even when the pressure comes from a powerful country. So now we watch to see what happens next. I'll leave it at that for now. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like friends if you found this episode useful and interesting. You can support the work of this YouTube channel with your donation or a paid sponsorship subscription using the links and details in the description of this video. I would be grateful for any support from you. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye everyone. To be continued.